You're listening to Miss Style, Strength, and Grace with Deidra Murphy. This is your one-stop shop for style, fashion, health, and fitness. Deidra's passion is to help empower women to reach their fullest potential, both inside and out. Deidra and her guests will be discussing how to develop your style, health, and lifestyle hacks to energize your day and inspire you to keep reaching higher levels of success. Deidra is a professional fashion stylist, health guru, and Mrs. Washington 2017. It's time to get open and honest with Deidra.
Well, hey there, and welcome to today's episode. It is a bright and shiny January day here where I live in Eastern Washington. And if you have been hanging out with me for a little bit, I just want to encourage you to please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, because that's what's going to help spread these empowering messages to other women, those of you that you might know, friends and family that would also benefit from hearing some of the messages, and my guests on this show. Especially, I've got a couple of amazing women guests coming up that you won't want to miss. So be sure to please subscribe to this podcast. That way you know when a new episode drops on every Thursday. And please give me a little shout out on iTunes, give it a rating, or give me a little bit of feedback so I know how I can improve my messages for you all if you're listening and joining me. And also just helps get me a little bit more ranking in iTunes, again, helping share this message with other women. So if you're all about that, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. So today, as we're jumping in to the message that it's on my heart, I wanted to share a little bit about kind of a story that happened last week. So if you were paying attention to my social media recently, or if you're on my emails, you noticed I did a live masterclass for the very first time. It's something I've never done before. I prepped incredibly hard for this. I poured my heart and soul into this live masterclass. And truth be told, I was scared to death. As often as I go live on social media, or I've talked in front of groups of thousands of people on stage, competed on stage in pageants in a swimsuit, for crying out loud, I was so nervous to jump on Zoom and do a webinar masterclass online, just speaking to an audience of people that had subscribed and registered for this live masterclass. How crazy is that? Well, obviously, as I'd been building up to this, there was anticipation, and there was a lot of, back and forth going through my head of, did I include this? Is that slide perfect? Is this color perfect on that? Like, is this good content? Are women going to actually learn by watching this live masterclass? Because I never want to give away content that isn't useful. I always want to give away tips and little tricks and action-based steps that other women can use to improve their life, whether it is dressing better and using that to build up her confidence so that she can reach her own goals and maybe get her love life back later in life, or, pursue her own dreams, or just free up more time so she can spend it with her grandkids or traveling the world now that she's retired. Whatever it is for that woman, I just want to improve her life in whatever way I can. So I just pour my heart and soul into anything that I try to do. And I had prepped for months for this live masterclass, constantly going back and forth on my PowerPoint, making sure everything was perfect. Oh no, I don't like the placement of that. Oh, I don't like this font, or, oh, that tip, I need to explain more here about, getting to that rule of 10 when it comes to making an outfit. All those things. I double checked my internet connection. So again, if you've been paying attention for a little while, I live out in the country and we have really slow internet here. So I tested my, connection the day before and realized it was going to be too slow for the amount of people that I had registered for my live masterclass. I had 600 women sign up for this free live masterclass and register for it. And with all those extra people jumping online, it meant slower bandwidth for me. So even the day before, I preemptively set up everything actually at my husband's in-town office in one of the side rooms so that I could at least plug in manually to the internet. So there was no Wi-Fi. I didn't have to worry about like technical difficulties cutting in our reception or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know the technical terms. I'm not tech savvy by any means. But, I plugged in through an Ethernet cable, tested it out, made sure my internet was working, practiced my talk and my presentation numerous times by myself at home. Whoa, that is really hard to do. Have you ever tried to prep for something and nobody is keeping you accountable but yourself, and you just have to dive into it? It is so hard. So I walked away feeling really proud of the fact that I practiced my presentation out loud by myself, sitting at home in front of my own computer 3 separate times. I don't have a boss. I am my own boss. So I had nobody bearing down my neck like, Deidra, that report is due by Friday at 6 p.m. Or, hey, have you practiced this in order to prep it for our big staff meeting on Monday? Like, it was all on me. So I was just kind of proud of myself that I practiced it out loud so many times. And with all of this energy, all this hype leading up to my live masterclass on that Wednesday, I reverted back to my insomnia and I did not sleep. And when I mean I didn't sleep, it wasn't like, oh, I was in and out of sleep. I was tossing and turning all night long. No, I was physically up all night long. Didn't sleep at all. It was one of those nights. And lately, as I've been pushing myself harder and harder in my styling business and just trying to generate more and more stuff, content-wise, videos, podcasts, whatever, I've found that I have kind of not been sleeping again. And thankfully, I'm so thankful that it has not been as bad as it was about 5 years ago when, I literally wouldn't sleep for weeks at a time, or I was only getting an hour of sleep as a nap in the daytime. It is nothing like that. Now it's maybe 1 or 2 nights a week where I'm kind of struggling with sleep. And then maybe once a month, a night like that where I just don't fall asleep at all. So I'm not trying to complain. I'm so thankful that I'm incredibly improved on my sleep than what I was at, 5 years ago, 4 years ago. But it leads me to kind of my topic for today and why I want to help instill in you some confidence, not only confidence, but just like inspiration. If there's something that you struggle with, whether it's sleep or hormonal imbalances or energy, that's a huge one, especially on nights when I don't sleep. I'm not that energetic the next day. Go figure, right? But I had to literally fake it until I made it. I had to show up, not just physically, but mentally and energetically for all 600 women that registered for my webinar. If I wasn't going to show up for them with my intention and my focus and my clarity for the day, there was no way that those women that signed up for my live masterclass were going to get anything productive out of that material. So I'm going to share today some of my tips and my action steps, takeaways from the lesson that I learned from, again, not sleeping that night before. And then even 2 days later, after my live masterclass, I had to travel over to Western Washington, which for me is about 3.5, 4 hour drive, because I was working one-on-one with a client over there. She and I had been working virtually. We went ahead and decided to move forward and have us do some one-on-one work. And I had pre-shopped for her on Friday night when I arrived into town, grabbed some great items for us to have her check out the next day when we went personally shopping together. Well, obviously energy is high, emotions are high. I'm kind of worried like, oh, did I find enough stuff for her to try on? Is she going to be able to do this or that and try this out? Like, I'm running through all these things in my mind the night before. And again, I didn't sleep. Now, granted, I did get a little bit of sleep, a little bit more than I did on the night before my webinar. I maybe fell asleep around 4 a.m. So I was just thankful that I woke up the next day and I had some sleep. And that morning, so Saturday morning, the day we were supposed to go shopping, I had preemptively planned our session to begin in the afternoon, just in case there was something that happened sleep-wise like that, and that I needed to let my body sleep in a little bit. So I let my body sleep in till about 9. That way I could get up, still work out, get in some good food, and have a little bit more mental energy to show up for her. So even though I still every now and then struggle with sleep, I want to help encourage you to take some action steps to push through whatever it is that you're struggling with as well. Again, like I said, sometimes for me, it's the sleep and it's the energy issue, but what is it for you? I want you to stop and think and really hone in on the problems in your life that are maybe keeping you from pushing through and keeping you to fulfilling your own purpose. And these same lessons and action steps can actually apply to whatever you're going through as well. Again, whether it's sleep or hormonal issues, weight, whatever it is. So lesson number 1 is don't feel like a victim or feel sorry for yourself. I love Rachel Hollis's message in the book, Girl Wash Your Face. If you have listened to her book or read it, read it again. I've been also devouring all of her content. And it's so true. It's like you cannot feel like a victim. You've got to get up off your feet, wash your face off, and just plug through. You can't change what's happened in the past, so don't dwell on it, but just decide, how can I move on? How can I move forward and push through this so that I can show up better for the people in my own life? And I used to get so sucked into victimhood. Man, oh man, there was nights where I was just in tears, bawling like a baby because I couldn't sleep, and it would be night after night after night of not sleeping. And here my husband is passed out next to me in bed. He's sleeping like a rock, and I'm bitter. I was bitter to him because he could fall asleep within 5 minutes, and here I am next to him, so tired, so worn out, and I can't even get a little bit of sleep because I was falling back into that victimhood and just feeling sorry for myself. And looking back, obviously with 2020, everything in hindsight is 2020. I was in that pit of just feeling like a victim rather than a victor, and seeing how I could help improve my own life. Here I wasn't sleeping, and then I wasn't taking care of my health on top of it. So no wonder my body couldn't get out of that horrible cycle of never sleeping. I'm not sleeping, so then I would stay up all night eating bad food, kind of binge eating, just because I was like, well, if I'm not sleeping and I'm already gaining weight anyway because of my hormones, I might as well have Ben and Jerry's at midnight, right? That's victimhood. That is feeling sorry for myself, or thinking to myself, well, I don't have time to make a healthy meal because I'm so tired. I'll just grab drive-through food because it's quick and easy. Again, that is just a cyclical victim mentality. And I get it. I have been there. I was there. And it's super easy to almost fall back into that, because I almost did that to myself in the morning of my webinar, thinking like, well, what if I just cancel it and say technical difficulties? I'm going to reschedule it. No, that would have been me falling into a victimhood, which leads me to lesson number 2, which is fake it until you make it. You can literally change your energy state with the right mojo, whatever it is for you. There's so much science behind this. I'm not a science backer on this. I don't know all the research that goes into it, but if you listen to any personal development coach, even Tony Robbins, I learned so much about this at the Unleash the Power Within conference a couple years ago that he put on and my husband and I attended. But you can change your mental state by changing your physical state. Your physiology can change your brain. So he calls it like make your move or whatever, and like shake your booty. Doing those things, whatever it is for you, can literally bring your energy level up, even if you haven't slept for, hours or days, and you're going to push yourself beyond your own limiting beliefs. So for me, it is getting my dance on. So I knew that morning I was going to be struggling with sleep anyway. So I already had my little jams playlist ready to go on my music app on my phone. And all morning long, I just had that thing on repeat. I had my Icona Pop music going on there, my Imagine Dragons songs, the song Thunder. If you haven't listened to that, it's a couple years old, but It is like the number one song that makes me feel like a bad A. Anyway, so look it up. Imagine Dragons Thunder. And I had my Meghan Trainor song, like If I Was You, I'd Wanna Be Me Too, that song. I don't know about it, what your opinion is on her, but I just love that song. So I had that playlist just running all morning long because I'm like, all right, this is going to get me in my energy state. I'm dancing my little booty off as I'm doing my makeup in the morning. On my way driving into town that morning, I was listening to it, just trying to get my head space right and fake like I had so much energy, even though I was struggling hardcore. The struggle is real. So for me, that was getting my mojo on. So I want to inspire you. What is it that's going to help you get your mojo on, your energy state back, even if you're just struggling? Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a emotion, maybe it's a movement, maybe it's just doing a little dance in your living room. Whatever it is for you, nobody has to know, nobody has to see it, but get your mojo on. Lesson number 3 is, instead of a let down, maybe it's a set up. I'm not the creator of that kind of saying. I think it comes from Pastor Joel Osteen. But rather than letting it be a let down, maybe it's a setup to set you up for bigger success or set you up for the next big thing. So for me, I just saw it as a setup to crash hardcore that night. I came home that night after a long day. Obviously, I'd given all of my mental capacity and energy on that live masterclass, and I crashed and slept like a baby that night, which was much needed, and it just helped reinvigorate me as I went into another long weekend of traveling, working with a client one-on-one, and then traveling back home afterwards. So what can it be setting you up for? Possibly, whatever it is that you're struggling with, maybe that hormonal imbalances is just a setup to get you to take charge of your own health and, go see your doctor or start getting things working in your system again. And maybe it's eating better. So maybe you've gained some weight after the holidays. I get it. I actually did too myself, but maybe it was a setup. So for me, like gaining a few pounds after this holiday season, it was setting me up to really dive into doing a ketogenic lifestyle. And now that I've really gone full on keto in January of 2019, I don't know why I didn't go full on keto in the past. That's a whole nother podcast topic. We can go down that road later. But what is it possibly setting you up for? Maybe it's a failure. Maybe you didn't land that new client or that new business opportunity because there's something bigger down the pipeline and you don't even know about it yet, or it's putting you on the path to get to that next opportunity. Or maybe it's just freeing your life up to meet the right person, meet that right partner so you can, enjoy your life together and possibly get back into the dating scene. Whatever it is, maybe it is a set up and not a let down. And then lesson number 4 is some of my personal tips to boost your energy or mental clarity. So this is what I had to do. And I do these things on mornings regardless if I'm struggling with energy or not, but especially on those days where it's so hard to do it. If it's a day where it's even harder to mentally decide to do these following items, that's when it's most important to do it. So I'm sure you can kind of guess what my number 1 tip is: working out. Still get that workout in, whether it's a workout by walking or a little jog for just 10 minutes, a little HIIT workout, the high intensity interval training, whatever it is, even if it's only like 15 minutes. If you are dead tired, it will still boost your energy and your endorphins. I cannot stress enough how big of a deal this is. Like, ladies, if you are not making the mental choice to get in some sort of movement and daily activity, you're not fulfilling your own cup. You're not filling your own vessel first. I heard it explained in such a monumental way recently. Again, I didn't create this, but especially as women, we tend to think that if we just pour into everyone else, we fill up our cup a little bit, and then we start pouring into everyone else, that, everyone else is going to get fueled, and then we forget about ourselves. So rather than constantly pouring a little bit into ourselves and then sharing that with other people and constantly emptying our own vessel, if we pour into ourselves and fill up our own vessel first, it will overflow into the lives of those that we love and those around us. So if you're a pitcher, for instance, and you fill up that pitcher with water to the top and you let it start overflowing, it flows into everything else around it. And then it naturally fills up the lives of those around you. So if you think of yourself as your own vessel, if you pour into yourself first, then you have more energy, more love, and more mental clarity, capacity to give to those around you. So I'm maybe going to rub some feathers the wrong way by saying this, but like, stop making excuses and get in some motion into your day. Again, even if it's just a walk with your dog outside, going on a quick 10-minute run, whatever it is, start moving, because I promise you, it will give you even more energy than that double shot of latte coffee that you might grab at Starbucks on your way. And leads me into my second little tip. Yes, I am a coffee drinker. So yes, I did pound some coffee, but I wanted to make sure I was getting good coffee. So I am such a fan, again, going back to the whole keto thing, of bulletproof coffee. It doesn't have to be the brand Bulletproof Coffee, but it is a great little way to start boosting your mental energy. Here's my little recipe for it. I pour 1 tablespoon of the Bulletproof Brain Octane Oil, which is an MCT or a medium triglyceride oil, into my coffee. And then I do a 1/2 tablespoon of Kerrygold grass-fed butter. And then I blend that sucker up for about a minute, and it's so frothy, so creamy, so yummy. But the good fats in that instantly boost my mental capacity. Now, granted, you kind of use that as a meal replacement. So if you're having that first thing in the morning, you would still kind of want to intermittent fast or not really have a full-on breakfast or meal until a little bit later. That's a whole other topic, which we can dive into later, but that's just one of the best ways I found to help boost my mental capacity. Not the type of coffee where you're getting like a Frappuccino, Delight, iced mocha latte, whatever. Those things are so embedded with sugar that you're going to crash. It might give some good energy, some energy right at first when you drink it, but is a sugar high and not a fat fueling, brain motivating type of energy, and you will crash later, which leads to other problems that we can go into in more detail on a future episode. But that does actually lead into my third little tip of things to boost your mental clarity and energy is eating right. So it might be easier to go through that drive-through or to grab that quick bite when you're so tired or you're dealing with other stresses in the day, but you're better than that. Prep some healthy snacks in advance. Maybe have some cut up veggies as like a go-to snack rather than the candy bar, or rather than going through the drive-through, have some hard-boiled eggs on hand so you can get some good protein and fats. Be prepared and feed and fuel your body right. And not only will it thank you later, but you're going to have more energy and you're not going to have that sugar crash later on. Those are my 4 tips. So again, just to recap, it was not feeling like a victim, fake it until you make it. It's not a letdown, but a set up, and then boost your mental energy and clarity with some of my 4 tips, which was working out, movement, coffee, and eating right. And I want you to think, how am I showing up for others in this world? Like we talked about with the vessel overflowing rather than constantly being emptied out, how are you choosing to show up in your own life for other people? Are you choosing to show up with that energy and kind of faking it until you make it and choosing to let it be a set up rather than a let down? And I just want to encourage you, what are some tips and ways that you can help boost your own mental energy and just push through with passion, so to speak. So if you are loving this episode, I am glad to hear that, but B, I would love if you shared this on social media. Like I talked about at the very beginning of the episode, if you were to subscribe and write a review on iTunes, it helps share this message with other women. So take a screenshot, share it on your social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, although I don't do the Twitter tweets. I don't know. That totally came out wrong, but I don't do the Twitter thing myself. But if you do, hey, share it on social media and tag me on Facebook and Instagram. I am at Style by Deidra, and I hope to see you soon. Again, I've got some great guests coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned for all of the upcoming episodes.
Hey ladies, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. To help empower more women, please be a doll and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. For show notes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to stylebydeidra.com.